Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spence Walsh. On today's show, we're going to be talking about a brand new plan announced by the FDA and the possibility of a new antiviral drug for coronavirus. Also going to be talking about the latest in coronavirus news as well. Also taking a look at the disgusting coverage of Joe Biden and Tara Reade by the media, including one very specific example in a new Ashley Feinberg piece. Also, we dig into some of the demands for rent cancellation, talking about some snitching going on, and I will use this as a great excuse, thank you very much, to hate on the really idiotic guy that is the CEO of Tesla, Elon Musk. That's what we got. It's episode 393 here on Newsflash. 393 episodes. We are so close to 400. It is too crazy. Yeah, I got to plan something pretty special for the 400th. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but we have started recording a new series. Just did the first episode today. We'll give you more details on that in the future, but that is very exciting. But let's get right started with it, all right, shall we? Good news today as the stock market rallied after promising news of an antiviral drug. I don't really care that much about the stock market, but this drug, what is up with this drug? More than 1 million coronavirus cases reported in the United States. 26 million people out of work. The hunger for good news was so strong Wednesday that reports that a possible treatment for the coronavirus showed early signs of promise helped rally the stock market. So this drug was called remdesivir. It's an experimental antiviral drug and can speed recovery in infected patients. It was heralded as very optimistic, but probably the guy that most Americans trust the most about this, Dr. Fauci. This helped the S&P 500 gain nearly 3% on a day. On the Commerce Department reported the worst quarterly contraction in the nation's gross domestic product since 2008 during the Great Recession, like 4.8% quarterly contraction. This quarter was a really insane amount. President Trump and his advisors similarly embraced optimism as a theme in a week when the nation surpassed 60,000 deaths from the virus. As states began to lift quarantines, the White House continued to offer a revisionist history of the pandemic in which the actions of Trump and his team were not belated, inadequate, but bold and effective. Yeah, this is what they're going to try and do. They're going to try and spin this. They're going to try and push it out of reality, really, is what they're going to try and do. This is what they... this is the whole thing. This is what they're trying to get you to believe. This is what they're trying to get you to think happened, but it just didn't. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It just did not happen. At a televised meeting at the White House with business leaders on Wednesday afternoon, the president went further, talking of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel very strongly. He waxed at length about restoring life in the United States as if the crisis were nearly over. He disclosed that he planned to fly to Arizona next week and soon after that to Ohio. He talked wistfully of going to football games and resuming his campaign rallies, saying, quote, "I'd like to get out." And that is really kind of a dangerous situation. Even the president is going stir crazy at this point, but there is just no way to determine that. We are at a point where, just now, you see Italy coming in, and they're a week or 2 weeks ahead of us, at least on the curve, but still very different, and we got hit harder than Italy. There is really a lot to be said, I think, against the idea of opening up states at this point, trying to restrict loosen up these restrictions here. But I think obviously you want to see it happen. Personally, even at this point, I would be it's spring. This is the best time of year to be at school. It's the best time of year to be at school. But there's strong desire here to let businesses reopen, and it's not even just me. To get the economy back. People are going to die with or without this relief. Yeah, so, and either from the coronavirus or from economic problems with this here. It is we've seen definitely Some blips in the cases before, like the 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, it's gone way down, but then it spiked up again on April 26th, or April 25th, and now it's going down again. So who knows? Or this is just at least for New York, but if we look at all the cases, all of the United States, we've seen a steady decline and then a few humps, at least in the way the cases have gone out. So around 36,000, 34,000, like new cases per day. Cases total right now in the United States, we have 1.06 million and 61,472 deaths reported, 18,000 in New York. Like, it is just a really sad situation. But if you look at like the possibility of the curve and the flattening of the curve, it's just, I don't know. I personally, from what I have seen, I have not seen enough evidence really to be this optimistic and be like, yeah, let's open it. Let's do this. And I think Trump obviously has a big incentive to want to open this open the government up way too quickly and open our life up way too quickly, and trying to open up America again. It's obviously something we all want, but we do not want people to die when they do not have to. That is an outcome that I think should be unacceptable to everyone. And like, what are the chances that we see big spikes in places like Georgia, places like Texas, where they're already trying to start and reopen places, like even when the curves have not flattened, when there are still plenty more cases to go? Like, for example, Vermont, like they reported no new cases recently, or I think yesterday actually, and they still are not talking about opening of the government, because like this is something that we need to be very careful. We need to make sure it's all the way gone, because it could come back, and it could come back with a vengeance, and it still could come back even after we do reopen and the fall takes place, you know? So it's a very, very tough situation, and I think what we have to do is, like, the government should be printing money, should be helping people. Like, there is no excuse for leaving people out in the cold in such a way. Like, there's just no way. But just to take you through here, modest results from a federal, the New York Times reporting here, Gina Colada, Peter Baker, and Noah Weiland talking about this new reporting about remdesivir. This is really modest results from a federal trial of an experimental drug helps send the stock market soaring on Wednesday, another sign of the desperation for a viable treatment against the coronavirus. Just before markets opened, Gilead, the maker of the antiviral drug remdesivir, announced that it was aware of positive data about the drug's performance in a federal trial, sending futures upward. Trading the company's shares was briefly halted. Later in a briefing in the White House, Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said the trial had showed that the treatment with the drug could modestly speed recovery in patients infected with the coronavirus. So pretty much it doesn't stop coronavirus, this drug. It just makes it easier it just makes the recovery time, once you already get coronavirus, shorter, and maybe you're less likely to die, which could be a big thing. He said the improvement in recovery times doesn't seem like a knockout 100%, but it is important proof of concept, because what it has proven is that a drug can block this virus. Like, it can be treated by a drug of some kind. He said certainly it's positive. It's a very positive event. In past weeks, he's repeatedly hailed remdesivir as a game changer despite its body evidence. He's clearly just looking for anything that he can say that'll probably get him out of this and make things better. It's like, stop the people dying, please. I mean, I don't blame him, but it's his crisis, and it's something that he, in a big way, through just complete negligence and being asleep at the wheel and wanting to downplay and push away this crisis and not responding to what health professionals told him to do, like, for example, New Zealand, like, that is a big, like, that should be something that's a fair and complete demerit to him, because it's something that he did. Like, it's just that simple. It is something that he did. Like, there's no way, these are facts. They're out here right on the table for all of us to see. And he's not the only one. He led an incompetent federal response, and to a large degree, there were many states that led an incompetent federal response. I'm looking at, for a large part of the instance, New York. Like, if New York, Andrew Cuomo was doing such a great job, Bill de Blasio was doing such a great job, then people wouldn't be piling up dead in the city. They're doing it all, like, they're failing on both sides of the aisle. But I don't think Trump should be allowed to look past, or be able to get past, be able to kind of escape get off the hook for this really just embarrassingly bad response, just criminally bad response. Yeah, so that's pretty much the scoop of this virus. It makes the recovery time for the drug shorter. So hopefully there's some more good news that comes out of that, but we can't quite fully get a real sense on that. So, all right, we're going to now move on to some more news. President Trump wants a crash program to develop a vaccine for the coronavirus, undertaking viewed with some skepticism even inside the administration. The idea would be to accelerate the process to create, test, and mass produce a vaccine, which doctors have repeatedly said would take a minimum of a year to 18 months, so that hundreds of millions of doses could be ready by the end of the year. Public health experts have warned that rushing to the process could undermine the treatment's effectiveness and even lead to sickness or death, because the whole principle of a vaccine is you're injecting a weakened version of the same disease or something similar into the person's body. So if you make that disease too strong by accident, it could be really, really bad. The White House has made no public announcement of this effort, which is known internally as Operation Warp Speed. Some officials are apparently trying to talk the president out of moving too quickly, warning about the risks that would come with setting an unrealistic deadline. But after the effort was first reported by Bloomberg News, the Department of Health and Human Services confirmed its existence. Operation Warp Speed is clearly another extension of President Trump's bold leadership and unwillingness to accept the business-as-usual approaches to addressing the COVID-19 crisis, said Michael R. Caputo, the Trump loyalist recently hired as the department's new assistant secretary for public affairs. So, after hearing from Fauci, the director of and other experts on the coronavirus task force, that even a year to 18 months might be an ambitious timeline to have a vaccine ready for mass use, Trump ordered the Health and Human Services Secretary, Alex Azar, to come up with a faster program. Probably the fact that he couldn't is maybe he may be on the chopping block. Let's get some headlines now. Some more headlines. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti says that now all residents can now be tested. Any city and county residents who want a virus test can go get one, whether or not they're showing symptoms. That's really, I think, where it should be in all the country. It would be the first major city in America to offer free coronavirus testing to all residents. He said residents of LA County were included in the move. It is unclear how many people will sign up to be testing or how long they'll have to wait. Over 6 million people have been tested in the United States, including the 603,000 in California, according to Johns Hopkins University data. More than 10 million people live in LA County, according to the Census Bureau. Just some facts there from the Times for you. And it just shows you, like, why don't they have that in New York City? Why don't they have... If Eric Garcetti could get that, why is that not in New York City? That's criminal. It's criminal that's not in New York City. Like, why aren't we getting that? Like, you can yell at Hasidic Jews all you want, Bill de Blasio, but you got to at least try and get some sort of better thing. Just at least try and get some sort of vaccine. I don't know what he's doing, but the fact that, like, it's certainly doable. And, not a vaccine. Get some testing at least here. Like, what is this? Like, I mean, it's not really reassuring. Like, you see Eric Garcetti in the news. He's guaranteeing his people testing, something that all the public health experts say is a huge thing that can go a long way towards stopping the virus. It could really help. And knowing where people have it, being able to isolate the people that do have it, that can go really helpful. That's what the LA mayor is in the news for. What is the New York City mayor in the news for? For telling Jews, Hasidic Jews, that this is their, like, final warning or whatever. But honestly, what they did, I mean, I gotta be honest, I do kind of agree. I kind of side with Bill de Blasio on that. But, like, dude, come on, get us some tests. We need some tests out here. Like, what is the holdup? Everyone should be able to get a test 2 times